Tafkaf Pei Gimel, 583. Okay, Sif Aleph. Adam Rogil Lecho Rosh HaShana. Okay, let's give it a slight introduction. Right? The Gemara says shemoneh-esrei. Shemoneh-esrei, that when we do things on Rosh HaShana, doing actions can influence and affect things that happen at a later date. Right? We find that often through Nach. Things that things are done with actions. For example, just on one example, pulled out of Nach, when the kingdom was split. Right? When the kingdom was split, David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, and Shaul before them were kings over the whole of Israel. When it was split into two parts, Chavim was given 2 tribes and Yerovam was given 10 tribes. Achia Hashaloni the Novi, he took his garment and he split it, divided it into 12 pieces. He gave 10 to Yerovam. Right? He didn't just tell Yerovam, you're going to be the king over 10 tribes. He tore his garment and gave him 10 pieces. With Shlomo HaMelech, when they anointed him, they took him down to the Mayon, to a spring. And one says, why did they take him to a Mayon? Because the Mayon springs forth fresh water the whole time, continues flowing, doesn't end, goes on and on. So it's a simon that his malchus should go on forever. Shemoneh-esrei, doing these things actually do affect what's going to happen. These simonim actually affect what's going to happen. And therefore, on Rosh HaShana, when our whole year is being decided, we do these simonim. The simonim have a real effect. They affect what's going to happen over the year. Let's see now the various simonim that we know to do. So there's a minhag to eat on Rosh HaShana different foods, which the names are words that imply some sort of bracha for the year. We're going to see. The first one is rubia, which is tilson. There's a machlokes what rubia is. Some say it's a herb called fenugreek. Some say that it's black-eyed beans. We're going to see in the MISHNA Berura that every place can do according to the language of their place. Therefore, there are people that need to have carrots for rubia, because meren, I think it's Yiddish, maybe Yiddish or German. For carrot is meren, which means more. Meren is the same word which means more, which is like rubia, the same occasion. So every place according to their own language. Silka, which are beets. Tamri, dates.
Here it says spinach.
Sorry?
Silka. Here it says spinach.
Spinach, okay.
For silka.
Yeah, I know that people take spinach. Yeah, I know people take spinach. Generally, we translate silk as beets. I've seen in the Machzor that they write spinach or beets. Yeah. Tamri, dates. Kro, gourd. It's a plain words. Rubia is similar to words yirbu. So we want our merits to increase. As I mentioned, you can, if you have in a language where you have a word with similar words increase or more, you can use a fruit or vegetable or food which implies that. Karoti is a similar word to yikorosu, the same letters. Kaf Reish Tov means yikorosu soneinu, our enemies should be cut off. Silke, selek beet, yistalku oivenu, our enemies should disappear. Tamri, dates, is a similar word to yitamu soneinu, our enemies should cease. Kro is similar to yikora. So kro, the gourd, the similar is that the yikora gzar dinenu, our decree should be torn up. It's also similar to it's similar to 2 words here: to tear, kora, and to read. So we want our decree to be torn up and our merits to be read out. Both words are similar to word kro. And some are noiheg to eat sweet apple and honey. And they say that we should have a new sweet year. And so we know this is the minhag that we do. Some eat pomegranates and say nirba zechuyos kurimon. We should have many zechuyos like the rimon. The rimon has many seeds. We should have many merits like the rimon, like the pomegranate. Meat, nice meat, fatty meat, and lots of sweet foods. Right, again, a simon that our year should be full of, should be shamen, should be matok, should be sweet and full of goodness. Yeah, okay, let's have a look at a couple of the MISHNA Beruras.
There are some people who eat celery and raisins.
Yes, raisin and celery.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
The year that I got my wife and I both got a cut in celery, we stopped doing that.
Okay. Sifkat Aleph. Sheikh Rubia v'cholev. Who adin mashenikol b'shenes achim loshen ribya yochal kol medina kosherno. Every place should eat according to their own language. Like we mentioned a few examples so far. Everyone can think of their own. Sifkat, there's room for originality here. Sifkat days what's the hirotzaim? What do we say? Hirotzaim lefonecha. Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokavosenu, shiyu b'zechuyosenu. That's how we say it in full. Should be your will, Hashem. Should be our God to increase our merits. V'chosav Eli Rabbe b'shem shlo yisoirer odam b'tshuva k'shem ha'yirotzaim v'yispalel lazeh b'leiv sholem. Person should try and do teshuva when he says ha'yirotzaim. Think thoughts of repentance and to daven Hashem with a full heart. Have kavanah. Sifkat Gimel tapoch motek b'dvash.
1 second. Who's the abbreviation? Because of
Eliezer b'shem shlo. We read it as shlo. It stands for shnei luchos amos.
I'm sure it was Eliezer.
Sifkat Gimel. Tapoch motek b'dvash. V'tapoch iker u'mevorech olav u'poiter hadvash. The tapoch is the main of the two. And therefore one makes a bracha on it to pass the dvash. One makes a bracha ha'it on the tapuach, and he doesn't have to make a bracha on the honey because it's tofel. Right? When you have an ikar and a tofel, a main and a secondary, one makes a bracha on the main food, and the secondary one is covered by the bracha. So one makes it just ha'it on the apple. Even if he's making ha'it on the tapuach after he's made the bracha, he still has to make a bracha on the apple because it's not really part of the meal. It's an addition. Everyone makes ha'it. Someone knows to dip the challah also in.
Isn't it really true of all of the simonim?
It's not true of all the simonim. Some of the simonim are served as part of the meal, as the side dishes. It depends which simonim. An apple is not really part of the meal. Most people, the way they make the leek and the beets and the gourd, they integrate it into the meal. It's part of one of the dishes, one of the side dishes, and therefore it's covered by the hamotzi. It's only really the tapuach probably which is problematic. The dates as well. We've already made ha'itz on the tapuach.
So you wouldn't do the hirotzon on the spinach until you came to it as part of the meal, or you would do it in advance of the meal.
You can do it in advance, but there's no bracha because you already said hamotzi.
You can do it. You can do it whenever you want to do it. You can do it when you get to the meal. If you want to do it at the beginning, you can do it at the beginning.
So let me.
If you do it at the beginning of the meal, just after hamotzi, not together with the main part of the meal, then doesn't need a bracha. That's the question.
Yeah.
It could be it does. That's an interesting question. It could be then you should make. No, I don't think so. I think it's part. It's
Because I've never done it as integrated into the meal. I always do it. You do the simonim and then.
But you do it after hamotzi, right?
Right. Yeah, it's after hamotzi. Even if it's after hamotzi, if it's not part of the meal, one needs to make a bracha. A tapuach, the tapuach make a bracha on.
Right.
We don't make a bracha on the other ones because the other ones are foods that go with. They go with bread.
That's
they go with bread. The other foods that go with bread. They're called melacha-theory. They go with bread. Not dates, but dates again you made ha'itz already.
Right.
The question is the hadoma. Once you've made the ha'etz on the tapuach, it's covered the dates.
Let's just go through the stages, because it's always a question for people.
Okay.
You start with doing Kiddush.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Then you do Hamotzi next.
Yes.
Right.
You wash, do Hamotzi.
Yeah.
And then you start going through the Simanim.
Right.
In principle, you go through all the Simanim before you have the first dish of the meal. Is that correct or not correct?
One can, one doesn't have to. Generally, straight after Hamotzi, we have the tapuach b'dvash. That we have first. On that one makes the bracha by eighth.
Right.
Right. The other simonim, one can have straight after that. If he has any that are dishes as part of the meal, he can make the hirotzen as he gets to them in the meal.
Or make it beginning, either way.
If he wants, he can make it in the beginning. But
Right.
the way we do it is all the ones that aren't part of the meal, we make at the beginning. Like the apple and the fish head and the pomegranate and the dates, we do it at the beginning. And then the ones that are going to come later, if you have a leek in your soup, in your chicken soup you have a leek, you don't have to go fishing around for the leek to take it out before the meal, so you can, you have your chicken soup, when you get to the leek, you make the hirotzen out of the leek. It's optional, everyone, this is not saying however you want to do it, it's all good. The idea is that we have these simonim during the meal.
Got it.
It doesn't have to be necessarily at the beginning of the meal, but
So the things that are not part of the meal, they're still done after Hamotzi.
things that don't go as part of a first course, main course, are not covered in once you make a bracha. That, practically speaking, just means the ha'etz. Whether generally it's the apple, because we start with the apple. If you're doing it in the other order, a different order, or you haven't got the apple, then you'd make the ha'etz on the dates or the pomegranate. The apple, dates, and pomegranates are not melachis, they don't go with bread, and therefore they need a bracha. The hadoma foods are foods that go with the meal, and therefore one doesn't need to make a bracha.
But they would still, you have the bracha for them after you washed inside Hamotzi. Or would you do it between Kiddush and Hamotzi?
No, after Hamotzi.
After Hamotzi.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, one should preferably do Hamotzi first,
Right.
to have a Kiddush Samach Chasuda. We try and do Hamotzi first, and then after that move on to the... Someone has a different minhag. I'm not speaking against the minhag, we're just talking about how...
Right.
So you've gotten... Where are we up to?
So we just
Dalet, we just turned the page. 4. So you've gotten Dalet. Tis Chadesh. ויאמר הבקשה אחר הסחולת והאכילה, מפני שאוסר להפסיק בין ברכה לאכילה. After one's made the ha'etz, one can't then say the hirotzen, because one shouldn't interrupt between the ha'etz and eating the apple. So one says the ha'etz, has a bite of the apple. When one finishes the bite of the apple, and one mouth is empty, then one says the hirotzen. And if he has more, he can continue eating. The other ones will consider hirotzen at the beginning because there's no bracha. Just with the ha'etz, when one was making ha'etz, one ends up saying the hirotzen after he's eaten part of the apple. So there's not to interrupt between the bracha of ha'etz and the eating. Therefore, we don't eat sour foods on Rosh HaShana. We eat sweet foods, not sour foods. People who eat fish as a sign that we should multiply, like the fish in the sea, they don't cook it in vinegar. Right? Shouldn't be done in sour foods. We should try and have only sweet foods.
The way we do that, it's not the way it's cooked. We don't use grain. We put honey on the fish up until sukkahs. So it's not that it's cooked in chometz, but we usually put something bitter on it. You know, the grain. It's like a sweet grain.
Yeah,
but it's sweet and sharp.
Sweet.
Yeah. We don't use grain.
Okay.
So is that
Okay. Something else.
You'll see this idea?
Something else to be is we noticed here as well is the notice in Chutz La'aretz. On the second night of shemoneh, we're going to talk about you have to make shemoneh, right? So you have to look for some weird and wonderful fruit to make shemoneh. Here in Eretz Yisrael it's much easier because you only get fruits in season, right? Except for apples, which you have all year. But, most of the fruit are in season. So it comes to Rosh HaShana, and you take the most standard of all fruit. You take what comes into season in Rosh HaShana, citrus fruits come into season.
What's this?
Citrus fruit.
Right.
So people take tangerines, orange. Those are the standard shechione fruits in Eretz Yisrael. I still find it funny 10 years after being here. They make a shechione and an orange.
I've actually been waiting for the citrus fruits to come back. So.
The problem is that when it's early in season, like this year, the fruits can be very green and unripe, and they can be very sour. So
you don't have a sour year.
So I want to try to...
Yeah, no sour grapes, okay?
Well, to try and avoid this, I'll have to... This year's very early. I'm not sure if they're going to be sweet enough. I don't know.
That's why they're called dry wines.
Yeah.
Not sour.
Okay. Then he continues, we do all these matters for a good simon. Also, one should be very careful on Rosh HaShana not to get angry. Besides for that, it's a big aveira to get angry. Besides for that, one should try in Rosh Hashanah as a simon for the rest of the year to try and be happy in his tshuva and b'tochen and Hashem, because the whole thing is a simon over what's going to happen over the year.
So this would be good to make like a poster and like a copy of this and hang it up in the shoulder.
Yeah, Sif Beis.
Or in the kitchen.
Rosh Keves. We the head of a sheep, to say that we should be the head. We should be at the head and not at the tail. Also as a remembrance of the ram of Yitzchak, the Akedah. Hashem should remember the Akedah. Better than a Rosh Keves, the MISHNA Berura mentions a Rosh Ayin at the head of a ram, because that's even a more remembrance of the Akedah. Most people don't manage to get hold of the head of a sheep, and therefore they use the head of a fish. We have the first symbolization, is good enough to have at the fish. We should be head and not the tail. The second one of being the zeich of the ayal of Yitzchak, that you lose out on if you have the head of a fish.
Some use the head of a lettuce.
Head of a what?
Lettuce.
Oh.
Or cabbage.
Hago. Yesh medaktikim shloilach egoizim she'egoiz b'gematria chet. Some people make sure not to have a nut because egoiz is the gematria of, or should I say almost the gematria of chet.
Where is this?
I'm carrying on in the Ramah.
Also,
Ramah,
almost the gematria of Tov. As well.
Also because they increase the saliva and phlegm in one's mouth and make it more difficult to daven. We go to the river and say the pasuk of Tashlich. Also there's a minhag not to sleep on Rosh HaShana, and it's a good custom. Okay, let's read the MISHNA Berura Sifkotum Ches 8 Hanoha v'chula. One before that I mentioned that it's better to have a ram, and if one doesn't have a ram or a sheep, one can use any animal that we talked about already.
It's interesting he didn't mention a fish.
Correct.
I find that a little fishy.
Sifkotum Ches Hanoha v'chula. ולא תושב תרח ימין וגויים משום דאיסה במדרש שאוב אברהם אבינו עד צווארו במים כשהולך להקריב על המזבח. The Medrash says that Avraham went up until his neck in water when he went to do the Akedah. ואומר השיע כיבוי מים עד נופש. He said, save me Hashem because water is coming until my soul. ואנו אויסן זה דרך להקדה, we do it as a remembrance of the Akedah. That's a symbolization that most people are unfamiliar with. Most people know the next one we're going to talk about is throwing the the next one also different. Also it's good to go to a place where the fish as a simon that we shouldn't have shouldn't be an ayin hora on us, and because the fish are covered by the sea, people don't see the fish, and therefore there's no ayin hora on fish. And also that's why they multiply, and there's so many. So there should be something for that. People are more familiar with that one, and also the idea of throwing averos to the fish. But there's also the idea of the Akedah, which MISHNA Berura mentioned. Okay. Okay. It's good to be a river or a well. It's good if it's outside the city. One goes on the first day of Rosh HaShana after mincha, before sunset. Okay. Let's skip to test. The next one's test, cotton test 9. MISHNA Berura, he says in the Yerushalmi, someone who sleeps on Rosh HaShana, his mazel, it will sleep during the year. Eliezer said after Chatzos one can sleep, because one's already, the malach has already been awoken by the tefillos and the tkiyos. Rebach Kosav, Sharambam hoya yoshen b'Rosh HaShana. Not the Rambam, this is probably the Maram Rottenberg. Would sleep on Rosh HaShana. And the Yoshev bottle k'yoshen domi. Someone who wasted. There's some people. There's many places that they get up for nates because of this, because so that they're not sleeping after daybreak. So they daven nates on Rosh HaShana because of this. Yoshev bottle k'yoshen domi. One who wastes his time, sits around doing nothing. It's the same as sleeping. There's no difference. In which case he might as well sleep. And he should try after he's eaten to learn. If he's very, very tired, he should sleep a little bit if he can't manage without this. To say all of Tehillim. So if one can do without sleeping and use his time usefully, one should. If either he can't do without sleeping or he's anyway going to waste his time, then he might as well sleep. That's the rule. It's a problem 12 Kufay Dalim. Back to Shulchan Aruch. 584.
Sleep is better than Rosh HaShana.
That's for sure, yes. If one's going to do it, that's a good addition. If one's going to do a bad thing, then it's definitely better to sleep. Yeah. Sif Aleph. Ein omim halal b'Rosh HaShana Yom Kippur. We don't say halal on Rosh HaShana Yom Kippur. The MISHNA Berura mentions the reason because we're in court and we have the Sifrei Chaim, the Amazing Pesuchim Lefonov. We can't say halal. We're in too much trembling, too much fear. There's no halal therefore. Hagov v'nagin loimer Avinu Malkeinu ala seder. V'im Shabbos ein omim moisoi. We say Avinu Malkeinu. If it's Shabbos, we don't say Avinu Malkeinu. The MISHNA Berura mentions the reason because we don't say extra bakoshos, extra requests on Shabbos. So we don't say Avinu Malkeinu on Shabbos. U'marichim b'piyutim mitfilos ad chatzos. We are marich with piyutim and davening goes on until chatzos. The MISHNA Berura mentions that even though generally on Shabbos and Yom Tov, one is careful to eat before Chatzos, not to fast until Chatzos. On Rosh HaShana, it's allowed, and one doesn't have to worry about eating before Chatzos. Many places have a minhag to eat before Tkiyos, which we'll talk about, but there's no need to. There's no problem to daven until Chatzos and then eat after Chatzos.
There's no problem eating after Chatzos.
There's no problem of fasting until Chatzos.
Oh,
there's no problem.
Is that? Why is it considered not a problem?
Because in Rosh HaShana the minhag was to always fast to daven until safe base. When we've seen basic
Is this true if it falls on Shabbos?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it falls on Shabbos.
You can't fast.
Safe base. One second. The MISHNA Berura mentions the im lechol b'Shabbos ein ha'arich yosem chatzos. Sorry, he says no. MISHNA Berura said cotton hay 5. The im lechol b'Shabbos ein la'arich yosem chatzos. He says not to. He says on Shabbos one shouldn't go past chatzos.
So you
one can go till chatzos and then one should go home and eat. One shouldn't go longer than that on Shabbos. Safe base. Yeah, and therefore, in a place where one will go after Chatzos on Shabbos, then one should make Kiddush, I guess. Yeah, before Musaf. Safe base. Umotzin base Sifrei Torah. Zechot Koirin and Hey. On the first episode, we call up 5 people. 5 aliyahs, like a regular Yom Tov, we call up 5 people. Mivashem Pogat Esora Ad Vayhi Achar Ad Vayhi. The laning is the laning of Hashem remembering sorrow. Hashem remembering Torah. Says in the Gemara, Rosh HaShana, that on Rosh HaShana, Nifkado Rochel, Sora, Rochel, V'Chana. Sora, Rochel, and Chana were all remembered on Rosh HaShana. They all became pregnant on Rosh HaShana. So the laning we read is the laning of Hashem Pokata, so Hashem remembering Torah. Just as Hashem remembered Torah, we want Him to remember us also for a good year. V'im Shabbos Kohen Boish Zayin. If it's Shabbos, we call up 7 people, like a regular Shabbos. U'maftiko b'asheni b'Parshas Pinchos of Chodesh HaShvi'i. The maftir is from Parshas Pinchos the psukim of the korbanos of Rosh HaShana. U'maftir vayhi esh echad min haramasayim ad v'yorim keren mishichoy. The maftir is Hashem remembering Chana, the story of Chana, the beginning of Shmuel, where Chana is remembered and Shmuel is born. Hagor. V'yesh mekoymos noihagin likros hatokea meminen hachamisha ha'olim the Sefer Torah. Some places are noihag that the Baal Tokea is called up as one of the 5 olim to the Sefer Torah. So if Gimel Bnei Adam hachavoshim v'veis asurim ein mevin esam Sefer Torah afilu Rosh HaShana v'yom HaKippurim. And people in jail and prison, we don't bring them to Sefer Torah even on Rosh HaShana Yom Kippur. Sif Daled in the Shulchan Aruch.
Just one question. What does Chabushim mean?
They're locked up. Sif Daled. Molin ben Kriyas HaTorah litzkias HaShofar. The Mila, if one has a Mila to do in Shul, it is done between Kriyas HaTorah and Tzkias Shofar. Why is it done then? Says the MISHNA Berura Kod Yud Aleph. Ben Kriyas HaTorah v'chula. Tikach HaSeder Bris Avram She'amila. V'Akedah Yitzchak. We want to do it in order. First Avram did the bris, and then afterwards was the Akedah. Right, so we do first of all the bris, and then afterwards we do Tzkias Shofar, or the ram's horn, which reminds us of the Akedah. Because after the Akedah, of course, Avram Avinu used the ayil, the ram, in place of Yitzchak. Siman Tov Kuf Pei Hei. Birkas HaShofar. Rabbi Yosef Siv Aleph. Toch Liskoya Um'umad. We blow the shofar standing up. Hagor v'nargin Liskoya L'bima b'mokoim shekoyrin. The minhag is to blow the shofar on the bima. Says the MISHNA Berura Siv Kotten Aleph Liskoya. Chen HaBrocha tzricha liyos ba'amida k'mo kol birkas HaMitzvos. So there was Siman Ches. Sif Aleph, the broch has to be done standing like all birkas HaMitzvos. Sif Kotten Beis, MISHNA Berura Me'umad, Tichsiv Yom Turo Ye'elochem V'afinon Milochem Deka Ba'omer. We learn it from the Omer. Ba'omer Ksiv Chermesh Ba'koma, I took it Ba'koma L'Ba'koma. We learn from Omer. The Omer has in it the word Koma. The standing corn is used for the Omer. We learn from there, because of the connection of 2 words, and we learn from there, Gezerah Shava, that the shofar should be done standing up. One shouldn't lean on something. This is a rule by all places where one has to stand. The rule is like this: that if he's leaning on something, if he's leaning so much that if the thing he's leaning on would be taken away, he would fall, then that's not called standing, that's called sitting. Okay, so one can lean very lightly on something, but not in a way that he would fall if it was taken away. However, if one blew the shofar sitting down, one is yotze. The people listening, the congregation listening, don't have to stand up. Also because they're going to hear the tkiyas during shemoneh-esrei, they're going to hear standing up, and therefore the first ones they're allowed to hear sitting down. However, the minhag nowadays is that we stand up for all of them. The name of the tkiyas, when people talk about the different tkiyas, the first ones are called tkiyas d'miyushav, the sitting tkiyas, and the second ones are called tkiyas d'ma'umad, the standing tkiyas. That's because the first one's allowed to sit. Even though nowadays everyone is noiheg to stand up for all the tkiyas. However, since the first lot of 30 before Musaf, one's allowed to sit for them, therefore they're called Tkiyas de Miyusha. But of course the Baal Tokea always has to stand, as we mentioned. Okay, ve'im yochid shomei tkiyas lo tzeis bahem ve'eino yosid lishmoya al seder habracha tzach medino lamed lechatchila. If a person is hearing these 30 tkiyas and he's not going to hear the later ones during shul, these are the only tkiyas he's going to hear, then he should stand up for the first lot medin, not just from a minhag. Right? The minhag, what we say that it's not necessary to stand is only those people who are going to hear the next 30 during Chazar Sashat, or during the actual shemoneh-esrei if he's not subscribed. But if he's going to just hear 30, then those 30 he should hear standing up. Okay, let's stop here.